Hi, 7th graders. We're on lesson 7-1, which starts on page 352 in your textbook. Our learning target is calculating the circumference and area of a circle. So just for some vocab words and to refresh ourselves, a circle is a set of points in a plane that are the same distance from a given point in the plane called the center. So here's our circle, and then here's our center right in the middle. And then our radius is the segment from the center to any point on the circle. So our radius can go from the center to any point, and our diameter can go from any 2 points, but it has to pass through the center, and it goes through the full circle. So radius is half. It's from the center to the outside. Diameter is through the whole entire circle. A chord is any segment with both endpoints on the circle. So a chord then, an example would be, because I don't have one on here. Oops, okay, it'd be a straight line, but it'd be like that. Okay, the distance around the circle is the circumference. So it's not called perimeter, but it's similar to perimeter because it is the distance around the circle. The ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter is always 3.14 on and on and on and on, which is pi. So that's how they get pi. So any size circle, you can take circumference divided by the diameter and you will always get pi. So therefore, circumference, so here we have circumference divided by diameter equals pi. If we multiply both sides by diameter to get rid of our d, we would have c equals pi times diameter, and that's how we get circumference. So circumference, like we said, is the distance around a circle. It's pi times d, or since radius is half of the circle, which means it's half of the diameter, we can, and so radius, so 2 times the radius would equal the diameter. So circumference is pi times d, or 2 pi r. So important formula to remember. So to find the circumference of a circle. So if we have this circle and the diameter is 9 inches, we know that circumference equals pi times d. We know that d, our diameter, is 9. So we plug in 9 in place of d, so circumference is pi times 9. So we have 9 pi. So that's the exact circumference is 9 pi because pi isn't an exact number. It just goes on and on and on and on forever. We can put in 9 times pi into our calculator, and we would get 28.274333388. So then we would round to 28.3 inches. If you put in 9 times 3.14, which we can also use as pi, you would get a little bit different of an answer. But you can also use that. If you have pi on your calculator, you can, you should just use pi, but you can use 3.14. Okay, so for this circle, this time we're given the radius. So we're going to use the formula c equals 2 pi r. So it's super important for you to recognize if you're given the diameter or if you're given the radius. So then we put in our radius, 7.2. So in our calculator, we go 2 times pi times 7.2, and we get approximately 45.2. Okay, so pause me and find the circumference for these two circles. So you should have C equals, okay, I don't have my mouse and I only have my computer at home. So pi, we're going to use pi times d. So pi times 6 then, you should get, I'm going to type it out so it's quicker, 18.8 feet. And then for this one, you should have used c equals 2 times pi times r. I'll put in the pi right here. And then you should have gotten C equals 73.5 meters. Okay, so to find the area of a circle, if we look at a circle and we know that the circumference is the distance around, if we split it in half and we take our pie shape, so if we put it into little pie shapes, we split it in half and we make it into a long parallelogram. See how we took half of them and put it on the ends on this side, half of them the ends on this side. And so if we put them all up to each other, we can see that this forms a parallelogram. We know that the area of a parallelogram is base times height right here. So it'd be base times height. Well, the height here is our radius because we're taking from the center to the outside, so there's our radius. And then because we have half of our circle on this side, we have half of the circumference. So the area of our parallelogram, like I just said, is base times height. Our base is half of the circumference times the radius. Well, then we can do half, and then our circumference we know is 2 pi r, so we're going to plug that in. 1/2 times 2 pi r times r. We get pi times r, or pi r squared. So that is how we come up with the formula for area of a circle, which equals pi r squared. So, like we just said, so the area of a circle is the space inside a circle. So just like polygons, and like we were talking about with triangles and trapezoids and parallelograms, area is inside, circumference is around. So the area, formula for area is pi r squared. Okay, so you need to always have the radius. But remember, if you're given the diameter, we can figure out the radius because it's just half of the diameter. So find the area of this circle. So we know area equals pi r squared. We're going to put in our radius, which is 8. So A equals pi times 8 squared. And then pi times 64. So 8 squared is 64. So 64 pi is our exact area, and we would just leave it like that. Or if we put it in our calculator, we would get 201.1. Okay? This time we're given the diameter. So we know the area is pi r squared. We have to figure out what the radius is, so we have to take half of our diameter to get our radius. Very important that we don't just put in 15, we have to take half of it. So pi times 7.5 squared, and then we have 56.25 pi is our area, our exact area. Put it in our calculator, 176.7. Okay, so take a second and find solve D and E. So pause me and do it and then come back. So the radius, if the radius is 11 inches, we want to find the area. So we would go, let me expand this. We would go A equals, I'll do my little pi symbol, pi times, so pi r squared, so pi times 11 squared. So then 11 squared is 121 times pi, so then your answer would be A equals 380.1 inches, and then because it's area, it needs to be inches squared, or square inches. Okay? For the diameter is 5, so right away I'm going to figure out that we need to figure out our radius. So radius equals 2.5 meters because it's half of D. So now I can plug in A equals pi times 2.5 squared. So then I can put it in my calculator and I get A equals 19.6 meters and then we have to make sure that it's squared, so square meters. Okay, that is all for that. You can go back and look in your book for more examples or more information, and make sure you go on to NICU and take the 7-1 NICU quiz. Have a super evening.